Yo, what up? It's a Cosmic here with a new video series called A Deeper Look. This is where I take a more in-depth breakdown of a certain stock. Today, we are going to go over XSPA, aka XpresCheck. So, their first huge news broke really around 922, 925. 925 you see right here, that's whenever the huge spike, and that's whenever I first noticed it. The first spike was a partnership with Relevant Healthcare, and they wanted to go ahead and start doing COVID-19 testing in airports, converting some of their retail space that they already have with XpresSpa that's starting to not be able to be utilized because of COVID, and convert it into an XpresCheck where they can test for COVID-19. The first real contract was for JFK workers, and I'll get into the timeline here in a second. And that's the thing that's really kicking this stock off. And their first pilot will be coming out later this month. So with that being said, looking into XSPA further, they are hiring in many locations for the expansion of testing. If more contracts can be secured within the next, few weeks, few months, I feel like it can really hit its 52-week high, which it didn't do quite yet. The 52-week high is right here. It says 1007, but you have to take in mind the reverse split was enacted, so that's closer to 333 before the reverse split. So that's its 52-week high. Besides this huge spike right here, where I believe it capped out around the 16 range, so $4 before the no, I take that back, about $5 before the reverse split was enacted. So I'm not looking for it to go that high, but I can see it testing the 10s eventually, depending on how the release of the JFK airport is. So going down into the timeline, we have the 525, they had the Relevant Healthcare news, but at the same day they dropped an offering. So you see that little red down arrow thumbs. So they got a new spike and then they dropped an offering. The next day, not the immediate next day, but the day after that, they dropped another offering, a $2 million stock offering. And the stock just kind of died off until then, until the 3rd. And on the 3rd, that's whenever they officially announced that they're going to pursue COVID-19 testing in airports. So the stock spiked. And over the weekend, the next on the Monday, I believe, it spiked up, and then they did another offering. So they're obviously trying to recover some money. And we'll go over their finances here in a bit. So this next good spike up, that's whenever on the 13th is whenever the Dr. Lispy, as they listed Dr. Lispy as the first chief medical director for XSPA, XpresTest subsidiary. So this was a huge deal for them to show that they're actually getting medical officers on site to actually run these XpresChecks. So going into the 20th, that's whenever they release their earnings. They have about 85% of their earnings from last year, and they're announcing a new restructuring to come in that last earnings. And I will leave a copy of all these news headlines, like you see here on the 27th, the offering. It's all here in Benzinga, honestly, so I encourage you to do your own research. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on. After the 20th, there really wasn't that much news until the next month on the 22nd, and that's whenever they officially announced the JFK opening, and that's when I made my play. Going over here to my E-Trade, you see on the 22nd, I bought in at $1.02, and I sold. I panic sold whenever it dropped. But right after open, it I had a order in for $1.04, and then it spiked to $1.11. I was able to get out of that. I know a lot of people that got trapped holding the bag and holding it, and this was before I was starting to try to really execute any day trades. So going back to the 26th, which is the following week, I believe this was a long weekend, and that's whenever I made my next play on the 26th, which really was an in and out scalp. I really shouldn't. It was 2 shares. You see, I was just being antsy, honestly. So going into the 6th, on the 6th is whenever I made my next play, and in between that, XSPA had a few moving moves. So this yellow sideways sign that I have on the 29th is they essentially announced that the reverse split was approved. So this was the day that the reverse split was enacted. And then going into the 4th of June, that's whenever we start seeing this huge spike, this huge run up. It bounced off here for the reverse split was enacted, and it made me think that people were trying to buy up the stock before the reverse split, and stuff happened. Obviously, this thing just went full-blown nova, and on the 4th, XpresSpa, there's just a headline from Benzinga saying XpresSpa Group shares are trading higher, potentially on continued momentum after the company announced it signed a contract for COVID-19 testing in JFK Air Terminal. And that is, to be exact, JFK Airport Terminal 4. And on the 5th, that is whenever they announced a contract with Hyperlink for COVID-19 testing, airport-based testing. So what is Hyperlink? And I done a little bit of research on Hyperlink and looked at their website to see what this was all about. And what I found is it sounds like their HyperConnect, maybe a teledoc related service. I'm still doing a little bit more research into it, but it's purely speculation that they're starting to make this into a bigger play. And we will see what this partnership with that HyperConnect services is. And I will be actually Hyperpoint, I believe. I'm sorry. Here, and I will open up a web page so you can see it. And this is Hyperpoint. So what I'm starting to think is that they're starting to help with telemedication, and that's the first thing that they need. So this is a software for XpresCheck, whatever they're calling it, to actually work online, have a good software. So that's what I see. That's what I think is a good partnership. They're really just positioning themselves to be a big player. And with that being said, I'm going to move on to their hiring. They've been hiring all over the place. You can see here, I did a little bit of research into here. They're hiring clinical intake, management, wellness tech, and concierge positions in Philadelphia, New York, Las Vegas, Atlanta, JFK, Salt Lake City, Denver, Charlotte, Minneapolis, LA, Phoenix, Pittsburgh, Raleigh, DC, Dallas, Chicago, and Austin. And that's 46 locations across 23 airports. And I believe, going back up here, their actual stats is they have 51 locations in 25 airports globally. So right there, that's big. They weren't a small operation to start off with. So them already having that foothold into these into all of these airports is going to cause this to really go. And with all that being said, this brings me to the point of the reverse split. A 3-to-1 reverse split. Essentially, if you don't know what a reverse split is, they lessen the amount of shares available and increase it proportionally to that. So for every 3 shares there was before the reverse split, now there's 1 share at 3 times the price. So my shares went from being about $2 to $11 and in about the 250 range to the 770 range. So with that being said, we will go back to the chart and kind of look at what it's done. This is whenever the first reverse split took into place, and now it's already come back into the 560s. The reverse split enacted into the 5s and the low 5s, 501 I believe to be exact, and it faded away for the rest of the day, which was, to be expected. Every time I've seen a reverse split, it spiked and then faded away. But my thoughts on this is that this is getting the big players to look at it. It went from being a $2 stock to a $5 stock, essentially. The shares available are a third of what they were beforehand. So this is going to be create more volatility for this stock. And now that people are seeing it at above $5, it's being noticed, and people are going to start trying to come and invest, whether it be Robinhooders or these millionaires. Now, with that, they actually did release 2 news coverages over the weekend on Fox News. And here's that. The Fox News coverage offering virus testing. They're starting with employees 1 to 2 days nasal and blood antibody test. They are waiting to see how reliable the quick tests are before use, and they're setting up new booths called XpresCheck. And here's the link. I'll leave this link in the description. And that was on Friday, and then today they had another news coverage on Fox News, explaining a little bit more how it'll work, that they already have a foothold in a lot of airports, and their first location will go live at the end of this month in JFK Terminal 4, and it's going to be starting with employees, and all of them are going to be ran by MDs and nurse practitioners. So, and I have the link right here I'll post. So it's making me think that this is a very, very solid play to look at. I mean, they're hiring everywhere. They are getting in with teledocs. They're hiring actual doctors and nurse practitioner. And here's a little bit more information on Hyperpoint. I'll post this in the description as well. But it's honestly really, really awesome what XpresSpa is doing, converting into XpresCheck. And we will see what happens. I'm currently going to be holding. They have unconfirmed earnings for 12 days. I might be holding up into earnings, but I don't think I will hold after earnings, because I can see that their Q1 will not be as great because of the COVID shutdown. But their next quarter, their Q2, once this starts kicking off, I believe is going to be really, really strong. So let's kind of dig into why people think it's a little bit speculative, why this isn't, they're thinking it's not a good play. So you see their operating activities and their cash flow. They're essentially went from negative to a little bit positive, and they're kind of getting a little bit better, but total net change in their cash flow was just horrible. This is from 2019 at the end of December. So they start into the year pretty bad. On their income statements, they're showing that they're having $7 million essentially lost in the Q4 of last year. And their gross profits it dropped from 2.8 million to 1.6 million. So this is why people think that it's really, really sketchy of them. But what I see is I come down here and I look at their debt. They have a lot of debt to pay off, right? And you go back to the news overview and you look at their offerings. So just hit SEC, and I have offerings to where they will be highlighted. And you come back down to March, whenever they first started dropping offerings. So they have an offering here. I believe it's for 2 point something million here. Let me pull this up. This actually has it. Their first offering, okay, for 1.79 million. Their next for 2 million. Then another 3 million. That's just more and more offerings that they have. And this is them positioning themselves to be able to make that transition and to pay off some of this debt. Look, 3 million right there. They got some debt paid off. Another 5 million, so they got half more debt if they have any. So we'll see what happens. I am looking for a nice breakout. It could definitely retest the 52-week highs. That's just my opinion. I probably won't play the whole move. I'm probably will play it into the 10s to play it safe. If it hits 10, that's going to be my ultimate sell mark, and that's only $3, and that's $2.30 higher than my current average. So, and I'll show you all that here. I'm not messed up about showing, you know, all my being transparent. Essentially, you're not going to see the whole thing. But right now, XpresSpa 770. 24. I'm down currently 27%. I'm not freaking out or anything like that, but we'll just see where it goes. If it hits the 10s, then I'll be happy. Honestly, if it hits the 9s, I'll be happy and I'll think about taking some profits. But this is going to be a swing into its current coming up earnings. I will not play it past the earnings because I believe the earnings are going to be bad, just like Mark was. It was great run up into the earnings, but the earnings ended up being bad. And on this one, it's this, and I'll be explaining Mark a whole lot later. But anyways, that's all I got for y'all, fam. If y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Remember to like, subscribe, share this video. We're growing as a channel. Honestly, in our server, our Discord server, Anonymous Traders is growing, and I'll leave a link in the description as well. And if y'all have any questions, just send me a DM on Discord, Twitter, or just comment below and I will answer that. Thank you so much, guys. Peace.